All right, let's move on to the Bengals. We're about 2 weeks out from the NFL draft. It's kind of a dead time in the NFL calendar unless you're really into the mock drafts, which I wouldn't say you're necessarily really into them, but you have to do them for your job. So that's what we're going to talk about. Give me some thoughts on what you've been seeing as you've been going through the mock draft process here.
So I'm taking a vacation week this week because it's just kind of the lull, to your point, the lull between the storms. So last week I did 3 mock drafts and with three specific things in mind. The first one I did was just keep the current 6 picks the Bengals have, see how that shakes out. I went to a site I kind of like, NFLDraftBuzz.com. They use the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, so it feels like there's a little reality to it, although some of it, as I was going through it, didn't seem very realistic to me, but that's neither here nor there. So I did one with keeping the 6 picks. I did another one where I accepted a trade in the first round. I traded back with the Houston Texans. This is the one I liked the most. And then I did one late in the week where I traded Trey Hendrickson. You could offer teams a trade. So I offered Trey Hendrickson. I didn't try to trade him to any AFC team. I traded him. I just went to every NFC team. I tried to poach a first-round pick from them. None of them bite on a first. As soon as I hit first round, because it asks, what do you want back in return? And you can just start clicking picks, and it's got a meter of accept or reject. As soon as I hit first round pick, it went from like the middle to reject. I'm like, okay, so nobody's got. I get it. That's probably true. Nobody's going to, at this point, they haven't been able to do it. So that's probably right. So I did pilfer a second, third, and a fourth round pick in this year's draft from the Detroit Lions for Trey Hendrickson. So I'll get to that.
Would you make that move right now?
If we're at a loggerheads to the point where this is going to just get ugly and distractive, I think I would.
Really? Man. I feel like that's concerning from a Bengals perspective, given the way they've drafted.
Right. My tact on this has always been he's under contract this year. He's going to play. So let's just get through this year with him, and he can kick and fuss and scream and pout and be upset, but he's going to have to play and play well. We talked about this last week. That's my end game, to be honest with you.
That's what I would do. The Bengals aren't a team that's quote unquote rebuilding. They're not starting from scratch where it's like, yeah, just get us a few more prospects and get something for Trey Hendrickson. You've got a chance, in theory, hopefully, everyone expects you to win right now, to compete this upcoming season. I'm taking the proven thing in Trey Hendrickson on a defense that, quite honestly, doesn't have a lot of proven things on it.
Yeah, understood. In that when I also went out and said I would try to sign as a Darius Smith, who's on the market, somebody along. There's a handful of veteran guys on the market that are 6 to 10 sack guys. I'm not going to replace Trey Hendrickson production. I understand that. I'm going to draft one as well. So in my first mock draft, the one I kept, it's funny, the one I kept the 6 picks and the one where I traded Trey, my first and second round picks were exactly the same. I took Mykel Williams, the defensive end from Georgia, in the first round, and this feels like a no-brainer if he's there in the second round. Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame. I mean, Al Golden loves the guy. The reports on him are he's a little bit shaky as a tackler, but he's an elite back-end defender. I know Al at the Combine talked about him. He was asked about, you got one of your guys up here. He talked really glowingly about how it felt like they had the same heartbeat, that they, knew exactly what each other wanted when plays were going on and series were going on. And that sounds to me like a perfect fit. So that was both times I'm like, I can't not take that. And that's when he was on the board at the right spot. I mean, it wasn't like I reached for Xavier Watts. But the one I did that I kind of liked the most was the one I accepted the Texans trade. So the Texans, and in fact, it's funny, there was a guy on with Mo Egger yesterday, who I guess is a former scout who works, I think, for A to Z Sports. And he talked about, the Texans really, their offensive line is so, and he's right, is so bad that, because they were talking maybe potential trade scenarios for things. He goes, if I'm the Bengals, I get an offer from the Texans just to trade back from 17 to 25, I'd probably do it. So this program I used, the simulator I used, offered me a deal with the Texans. So I traded back to 25, and then I added 2 extra picks in the third round. And then because of that, I had 3 third-round picks. When it came time for me to draft in the third round, I got an offer from the Chargers for wide receiver Quentin Johnson, who was a first-round pick 3 years ago. He was productive last year. He had, I think, 50 catches for 700 yards. Had some drop issues. I think he had 7 drops. Change of scenery. He's my third receiver. I need a better option than Andre Yoshibash.
He's more talented, I would say.
Yeah, no question. And so as a third round, giving up that extra third-round pick work. So in that one, I took safety Nick Emenwari in the first round from South Carolina. I took a defensive end, Princely Amun-Mielon. I can't even say his name. Amun-Mielon from Ole Miss in the second round. I took a linebacker, Barrett Carter, in the third. Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker, who I'm really high on. He had a terrible year this past year, but I think he's he's a beast. He gets double teamed a lot. I think he didn't play up to his ability. I think he just got down on that team. I just think he's got upside, and he can rush the passer from the middle. I then took a center, Jared Wilson, in the fourth round, and that's kind of with an eye on the future. I'm not going to replace Ted Karras next year, so I got to get a future center. I waited until the 5th round to take a guard, and when I wrote it, I even said it's probably too late to wait for a guard. I probably should have taken one earlier, but I also think after the draft that this is how it unfolds. You get a young guard in the pipeline. I took Luke Kandra from UC. At that point, I do think they sign a veteran guard after the draft is over. I mean, Brandon Scherf's still out there. He's probably still going to be out there when the draft is over with. And to me, again, if you don't address it early, and it just never fell on the board, maybe it will for the Bengals. It just didn't fall on the board for me to get a guard wherever those were. And then I took a flyer in the 6th round, took a running back, Jaden Blue from Texas, who has home run potential. That gives me maybe a backfield of, Jaden Blue with home run potential, Samaje as a backup, and obviously Chase Brown as a starter. They still have not done anything with Zach Moss at the moment. I still feel like they'll waive him with an injury settlement at some point, but they haven't done anything with it.
Who was your first round pick in that scenario?
Nick Emenwari, the safety from South Carolina, who actually on a lot of draft boards, he's getting inside the top 20, so he may not even be there at 25.
So what I'm hearing is in all the drafts, you're taking defense first. Do you think that's pretty much automatic at this point?
I don't. If a guard falls for them in like the 2nd or 3rd round, I can clearly see them going that route. It just never fell for me in that regard. And like I said, when I wrote the piece on all these, I never took a guard until day 3. And part of that is it just never fell right. If it falls right for the Bengals, I don't see them doing it in the 1st round. Maybe they do. I just don't. I don't think they value the position that much for it to be a 1st rounder. But if it's a 1st rounder that they feel like, hey, if we don't get him, we are going to have to wait until day 3. We do need to get a plug and play guy. So maybe they do go that route.
Yeah, I guess everyone always gets so excited about talking about position of need or best available or that type of thing. Like what's going to be the draft strategy. And for this year, at least at the top of the draft, it really feels like you could go almost anything defensively, right? You could use anything defensively if you really feel like you've got the right guy. And then aside from that, it's probably a guard.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably right. Like I said, I probably waited around too late, but it never fell to me on the board where I have to go down 10 to 15 spots and go, okay, there's the next highest available guard, but I don't want to reach like that. So I didn't.
All right. Anything else on Bengals mock drafts, anything like that?
No, I'll come back with some more. I'll have a daily position roundup starting on Monday and just kind of looking at what the Bengals need at each position group and then looking at some potential players and what maybe rounds the Bengals would take those players. I do it every year. It kind of takes me day to day up until my final mock draft and then the draft itself on April 24th.
Yeah, and then all the rumors start swirling as we get into the weekend and next week, and that'll be all going on next time when we record. So we'll talk a lot of NFL draft on next week's podcast.